Under my last video, I had someone leave a pretty long series of comments that I felt needed a much more nuanced answer and for you all to see what the person said. So I took screenshots and I'm sharing with you now, and I'll answer after that. So the person starts out, I like how you emphasize that Islam is one of many ways of life and is a choice, but simultaneously, if you are taught that one way from birth and taught it in a way that it's the only way of life and will be an outsider of your community if you deconstruct or walk away from that belief system, doesn't it make it fair for outsiders or anyone to criticize certain beliefs taught to children, considering that they will internalize said beliefs before they can choose it for themselves? I asked that, this person asked that only because I was raised evangelical Christian with similar doctrine regarding modesty and purity, and growing up being taught this continues to hurt them even after leaving the religion. To be clear, I'm against discrimination of Muslims and hijabis, but I do think it's fair to be concerned about certain doctrines. So first and foremost, I want to thank you for sharing so vulnerably in the comment section. I can't imagine how painful the experiences you must have had around religious trauma, which are absolutely valid. And even me as a Muslim, yes, there are Muslims who have been born Muslim, left Islam, who've experienced religious trauma, who might still consider themselves Muslim and are having a hard time of it with how they've been treated by their families or communities, what have you, as along with other religious communities and also other ways of life. So I hold space for all of that. Thank you. But having said that, to be fair, we have to hold space for the fact that anyone with religious trauma is going to be biased when discussing religious identity because it's going to be a trigger. So it's not something that someone with religious trauma is going to be able to be completely unbiased about. Something that also comes to me regarding this comment and things I've seen for a long time and I've wanted to address before is that a lot of folks who are atheists, agnostic, secular, what have you, they don't have like a traditional religious background or anymore, is that there's this thought process that being secular is to be objective, which is not the case. There is no such thing as true objectivity. Whether you're Muslim or Christian or Jewish or Hindu or Buddhist or pagan or whatever, and also if you're coming to life understanding it from a secular point of view, an atheist point of view, agnostic, whatever, that is a way of view. That is not objective, and religion is therefore subjective. So in the same way, with raising the concerns of like, oh, well, families are raising children with certain religious beliefs or beliefs of any kind before they are old enough as adults or as teenagers maybe to be able to decide for themselves, there is no way of life that is objective in which a child is going to be able to go, let's say, years 1 through 18 or 16 or whatever you want to do. Let's just say 18 for now. There is no way of life, none whatsoever, religious or not, where a family, parents, a community can raise a child from age 0 to 18 in a completely quote unquote objective, sanitized manner where they then as an adult at 18, which, you know, we can have a whole discussion about, well, should it be moved to 23 or 26 because of their brain being fully developed in their mid-20s. Let's just say 18 for now, that they go from being a blank slate from all those years, and then as an adult with all the options laid out in front of them equally, they get to decide. That's just not reality. That's not how the world works, and it's not fair also to families to be forced to keep their own traditions, because keep in mind also that religion is not just rules, don't do this, don't do that. It's also a huge part of culture and heritage, right? You can't just be ripping people's religious identity away from them because of a bad experience that some people have had. Yes, it is a valid thing that some people have had very bad experiences with religion. However, there are a lot of people who have had very good experiences, and religious identity is a huge part of the solace they have, comfort they have from the harshness of the world, a sense of community, a sense of purpose in life, all of these positive, good things that come from our religious background and as a part of our heritage. there's no way, and it would be completely unjust for anyone just because they themselves, or even, yes, other people, a number of other people have also experienced religious trauma, that then the answer is to swing so far the other way and to just keep religion out of all things. That's not how it's going to work. Now, separate from the topic of raising children in or outside of a religious ideology, there's the concept that you brought up around critiquing religion, religious doctrines, ways of being, practices, whatever. And yes, I agree that there should be, in theory, space for debate, for outsiders to come and ask questions in good faith about why certain things are believed and why certain things are done and not done. However, none of this is happening in a sanitized vacuum, which is a huge part of what my previous video and my objections to non-Muslims, especially Westerners, especially white Westerners, critiquing Islam or speaking badly about Muslims in everyday life, because the background of our society is deeply Islamophobic. Western countries are deeply complicit in the active oppression of Muslim cultures around the world. Western countries have gone into Muslim majority countries and destabilized their governments, have ripped their resources from them, have used them in political, economic games to enrich themselves. White women, especially, again, I was stitching in my previous video a white woman, even though she does have very progressive values. However, even in progressive spaces, white women have used white women feminism to show how they need to save poor oppressed Muslim women from themselves and the oppressors of their religion, the men of their religion. Their religion is so barbaric and twisted and forces them to wear modest clothes and blah, 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 blah. That is weaponized in order to quote unquote save Muslim women, and yet Muslim women are never a part of any of these projects. They're not listening to Muslim women's voices and what we want to be treated as and how we want to show up in the world. Look at how Afghanistan and the US pulling troops out of Afghanistan was treated. They went to Afghanistan to quote unquote save poor Afghan women and girls from not being educated and from wearing overly modest clothing or whatever the case may be. And yet, when the United States decided that it was no longer beneficial for them to be there anymore, they pulled their troops out. And where are Afghan women now? Has anyone been caring about, from the white Western world, anyone been caring about Afghan women since? No. This is completely performative feminism. So all of this is to say is that if we were in a completely sanitized, objective space where we could debate values and morals and ways of living in that sort of vacuum, then great. That could be a space where we could have these kinds of debates in good faith to learn from each other and decide if this really, one way or another, is a good way of living or the best way of living or what have you. However, the problem that I have is that folks such as deconstructing Christians, ex-evangelicals, or anyone else from other faiths, atheists, agnostics, whatever, they are not taking into account the deep, deep Islamophobia that they have internalized. And so they are not coming to conversations to debate Islam really in good faith and without deprogramming that Islamophobia that has been baked into their brain. So they really can't be in a good place to debate Islam.